Congressman Adam Schiff, welcome back to Sunday Morning Matters. And Congressman, I want to start with COVID. The new federal mandate issued by the president. Is this a slippery slope that the president is going down? Is he right by saying, quote, this is not about freedom?
Look, I think he's right to take whatever steps are necessary to defeat this pandemic. It's a real threat to our economic recovery. It's a threat to the health and lives of Americans. And we have the tools to defeat it. We have the vaccinations that are safe and effective, but there is this persistent hesitancy to get these life-saving vaccines. And as a result, our emergency rooms are filling up, our ICUs are filling up. That's endangering some of the staff that work in those hospitals. But it really is endangering the country, because until we get this pandemic under control, the virus is just going to continue to mutate, and we're going to face this year after year after year. So if you want to put an end to it, I do. I think the president does. These are strong steps, but they're necessary ones. What
do you say to those who argue, much like the abortion debate, my body, my choice?
Well, I would say this. Yes, when it comes to your own health, you should have a guiding decision in what you do. But when you're taking actions or failing to take actions that are threatening the lives of others, then it's important to step in with requirements to protect the public health. And here, people's failure to get vaccinated and to get treated for this preventively this way is threatening their neighbor and their friends and their colleagues at work. So it's not just affecting them. They're putting other people at risk. You know, for example, in the Congress, where a number of my colleagues are not vaccinated and have been resistant to getting vaccinated, well, if they give that virus to someone else on the House floor who brings it home to their wife who has a health condition, or the young children who aren't able to get vaccinated, and one of them gets sick and dies, they should feel some responsibility for that. And of course, we don't want to take those kind of risks in our workplace, and we don't want other people to have to take them in their workplace.
Well, Congressman, you know, there is still the argument as well. The COVID vaccine still not FDA approved. But as you know, in your area, the LA School Board now mandating all kids 12 and up and staff to be vaccinated to attend in-person classes. Is this the right thing to do without that full FDA approval?
Well, you know, I think we have FDA approval of one of the vaccinations now. I fully expect that we'll get full approval of other vaccinations as well. They're already approved on that emergency basis. And so I think it is prudent, because time is of the essence, that we move forward and we get people safely protected from this virus. Right now, it's essentially a pandemic of the unvaccinated. It's the unvaccinated who are getting seriously ill and dying. And having given out many tens of millions, hundreds of millions indeed, of vaccinations now, we have seen the largest essential sample size in terms of a trial, and seen its safety and its efficacy. So I do think moving forward makes sense.
I want to get to the $3.5 trillion spending plan by the president. The Senate seems to be in a standstill about this because of Senator Joe Manchin. Could we see a government shutdown?
No, we're not going to see a shutdown. I'm very confident. I don't think anyone wants a shutdown. In the past, where we've had shutdowns, you know, generally you have one of the political parties. The last time the Republican Party wanted to shut the government down, President Trump, and he did, but I don't think there's any desire among Democrats or Republicans to do that again. So I don't think a shutdown will happen. Now, there are going to be a lot of negotiations over what the ultimate size of that human infrastructure package is. How much we invest in physical infrastructure, how much we invest in people, early childhood education, making college affordable, and these type of essential things. And so I don't know ultimately what figure we will arrive at, but I think there's enough incentive for us to get the job done that we will.
You know, I want to move on to Afghanistan. As the chairman of the House Intel Committee, you know, many Americans feel like they're in the dark about what really happened in Afghanistan, how that evacuation turned so deadly. Why wouldn't the president evacuate our Afghan allies and Americans before evacuating troops?
Well, I think we're going to need a full examination of, not just what went wrong over the last month, but what went wrong over the last 20 years, in that we invested so much blood and treasure in trying to, number one, protect the country from another 9/11 attack, and in that we were successful. But number two, trying to stand up an Afghan government that would fight for itself and defend itself. And in that, we were overwhelmingly unsuccessful in that mission. And the moment we pulled our troops out, effectively the military collapsed. Now, I think there were a lot of warning signs, and certainly some of the briefings we got in the Intelligence Committee suggested that the Taliban was going to take over the country again. It was just a question of how quickly they would be able to do it. And increasingly over the last 6 months, those assessments got more and more pessimistic that the Taliban could quickly overrun the country. It never got to the point where I think there was a expectation, however, that the government and the military would fall within a week or 10 days. So that did take people by surprise. Nevertheless, I think you have military plans for everything. And there should have been contingency military planning as we were seeing the changing conditions over the last 6 months, such that there wasn't such chaos at the end, really deadly chaos at the end. So we're going to have to examine what went wrong. We're going to have to do it, I think, objectively and provide answers both as to why the exit was as difficult, problematic, and ultimately bloody as it was, but also why the 20-year effort to try to stand up this government in Afghanistan ultimately failed.
You know, Congressman, I got 30 seconds left, and I'm wondering, you started your first term in Congress the year of 9/11, 20 years later now, because of what we've gone through with the exit of Afghanistan, the Taliban back in rule, ISIS-K alive and well. I'm wondering, do you believe the United States is vulnerable again of a terrorist attack?
Well, we are vulnerable again. Now, we're more vulnerable outside of Afghanistan in other countries today. But in 3 years' time, will the problem and the threat once again grow in Afghanistan? It may, and we're going to have to keep our eyes on that. We're going to have to use all the tools we have to keep that threat at bay. Congressman
Adam Schiff, thank you so much for your time. See you a little bit down the road here.
See you soon.